Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am gonna film a video about going abroad. I know it's been a long time and I said I was gonna film it, but I honestly have just been very lazy and I've had the time, I just haven't taken the time to sit down and do a video on my abroad experience. So even though I am graduated, I should have filmed this a long time ago, but I just, like I said, never took the time to sit down and do it. There's a lot to share and a lot I would love to tell you guys on going abroad. So I'm just gonna share what the program was, what I did, my experience, and that's that. I may make other videos about each country I went to just so you can get tips and have ideas for what to do if you travel there. But I'm just going to share my experience, and I hope it helps you if you're deciding or trying to choose where to go. And this video is mainly for people who are looking to study abroad, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, that I would suggest to anyone who's in college. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's get started. So I wrote some things down because there's just too much to share and I know I'm gonna forget stuff. So I went abroad in 2019 through Csulb, where I was going to college, and my program was from September to December, literally right before COVID and everything happened. But Csulb offers so many different programs to choose from, and I knew I wanted to study abroad sometime in my college career. I just couldn't decide when. I believe at Csulb you have to be a sophomore to go study abroad. You can't study abroad your freshman year, but don't quote me on that. But I was already in my junior year and I knew I wanted to go, and I didn't want to wait until my senior year. Thank God I didn't, because COVID. But I went my junior year. So Coral and I had gone into the office, and I just remember leaving there and calling my mom and saying, I'm going abroad this June, and that's that. And it was just kind of funny because Coral and I had a cruise in August coming up. We were in the abroad office in June and July, and we were going on the largest cruise ship in the world, and then we're like, okay, we're going abroad. Like, we got home from our cruise and we probably had 2 weeks and then we went abroad. So moral of me telling that, I don't know, but I'm just sharing that because, you know, we didn't plan to go abroad. It just kind of came into our lives after we went into that office, and I did not have a lot of money saved up to go, and I still told myself I was going. So we kind of just went on a limb, but it was worth it. Saving, like, cause some people will save their money up to go abroad, and Coral and I kind of were just like, we're going. We figured it out. We didn't have it planned or anything. And I'll explain more about money and spending and that kind of stuff. So we decided to go in September. So the school year does start in August, but for abroad, it was starting in September. So we started school in September in Florence. So I'm going to go into a little bit of details about the program itself, just so you know what kind of program we chose. So we went through AIFS, which some people, when they go abroad, they go from the university. So you'll go from Long Beach State and go straight to another university in another country, and you'll stay in the dorms. You'll go to school in their classrooms at their university, stuff like that. We didn't do that. We had a different program where the program just had teachers over there for us, and actually some of the Csulb teachers came with and taught the students there, but we lived in apartments on our own with Italian landlords, so we weren't in like dorms or anything like that with Italian students. So you had to be taking 12 units to go over. So I took Politics Through Culture, Italian, and then Comic Spirit, and then you had an internship. So that was 12 units. The main reason why I was sold to go with this program was because of the internship. So you got a 120-hour internship included. You had to complete it by the end or you didn't pass. But that was the main thing for me because, you know, we choose these experiences in life to benefit us, and obviously the abroad trip benefited me just by traveling and meeting new people, but the internship aspect was more for, you know, getting my hands dirty and getting to see a little bit about my major and having experience for my resume for people to see in the future, wow, this girl, you know, studied abroad and she completed this internship in a foreign country. So stuff like that is cool about these programs because you can find things that are going to benefit you in the long run. Talk about costs. The program was $7,995, so that included the 3 months of staying in an apartment. That included some trips that they took you on. So we went to Rome for a weekend, and that was included. That included a welcome dinner. We had some day trips to like the city where gelato was created. We went to opera and stuff like that, little like field trips that were included in the program. And so that was the cost of the program. You also had to pay for tuition. So I know tuition at Long Beach is $3,400, something like that. But it actually was lower because when you go to school on campus, you're paying for more fees. So we were abroad, so we're just paying for the classes. So it was like $2,700 around there. You had to pay for those two things, and then you had to buy your own passport. I already had my own passport. You do have to buy your own flight, and then you obviously have your own money for spending. I know you could, I think there was the option of buying your flight with the program, but Coral and I just decided to buy it separate. We went through Skyscanner. I highly suggest Skyscanner. We were a little bit nervous because it's a third party, but the flight round trip there and back was only $700, and we bought it in June or July, and we were leaving in September. So that's only what, 4 months out, and that's a pretty good price because most flights into Italy are probably around like $1,000. So that's how we bought our flight. That's a little bit about just the program in general. I can talk a little bit about school over there. So we went to school like Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday. We got to have all day Friday off, Saturday, Sunday. We might have had Thursday off, but I honestly cannot remember, but it was something like that. You weren't in school all day, so we would go to school from like 8. Sometimes it went from like 8 to 12, and then other days you had longer days based off of when your classes were. So like I said, I took 4 classes there. The internship was something you did off of the program building. So for our program, you had the classroom. So they had a building rented out, a room, where they had their classrooms in it, and that's where the program was. And all of our apartments were scattered throughout the city, and you had to walk to class. We got really lucky, and our apartment was right by the class, like not even a 2-minute walk. So we were very fortunate because we had girlfriends who were like 30 minutes away on the other side of Florence, and they had to walk to class, but they had a cool apartment too. So you would walk to your class at the program, and sometimes we were there from 8 to 12, like I said, or sometimes we were there till like 8 to 4. And our program was mixed with Fullerton, so Fullerton students were with us too. And I could go and take Fullerton classes, but I decided not to. So on top of that, I don't know if any other people did this. I think one girl might have, but I chose to take a class back here at home, but online. So it was Communication Media Effects. As I am a communication studies major, I wanted to stay on track for graduating, so I decided to take that class. It definitely was easy because Italy's 9 hours ahead, so I did have a little bit more time to get stuff done because if something was due in the morning here, it was already nighttime over there, so I had all day to do it. I definitely found my way of time management and taking all these classes and the internship and traveling. You definitely can make it work. We did learn Italian, so we had Italian for 3 months. I personally did not learn that much. So you take the Italian with an Italian teacher, so they have someone come from Florence and teach you. And, you know, we learned basic stuff. You know, honestly, I think I was just such in the mindset of being abroad and traveling and go, that I just didn't even try and use the language with people, and that's something I wish I did do. So that's a little bit about the classes. I also want to mention about the program. They were so nice. These people lived in Florence. They were kind of counselors. They were from Italy, and they just helped so much with like giving you advice on traveling, telling you tips to be safe, telling you how to work the train station, stuff like that. And I really appreciate that they were there for us, so that they have benefited many of us through the program. So that's something cool about AIFS. Also forgot to talk about spending, which I said I would. When I went abroad, I had some money saved up that I was going to use for spending. What I did was I just worked a ton and saved that money for spending. But for the program itself, I was very, very fortunate enough that my FAFSA covered most of it. So you can apply for financial aid, obviously, for your school year, and then you can just use your money towards your abroad. So obviously, I've talked about it in my other video. It depends on your parents' income. It depends on your income based off how much you get. So I bought my own flight. I had savings. I had opened a new credit card. If you can, I suggest opening a new credit card if you plan to use it in the future. If you have enough money saved up, don't open a credit card. Obviously, we all know the pros and cons of credit cards, but I opened one through Bank of America. It was a travel rewards. I still use it all the time when I travel and go back to Italy because it doesn't have fees on it. So when you're in Italy or in any other country in Europe or any other country in general, your credit card usually has a fee, like an international fee, and it adds up like a lot. So you use it in other countries, it doesn't charge you an extra fee. I used both of my credit cards, so I had a Wells Fargo one and a Bank of America, and then I had my savings, so I used all of that. I honestly don't know if I could tell you how much I spent total on spending for 3 months. If I'm calculating correctly, I think I probably spent like $5,000 in 3 months. That was on all my traveling, all my groceries per week, any other events I wanted to do, going out to eat. I didn't really go out to eat that much, but yeah, so that was how much I spent. And I think that you could definitely have about $4,000 saved up, $3,000 saved up, and you'd be fine. But I was fortunate enough to have the 2 credit cards where I charged those cards, and then when I got home, I paid it off. But you also can apply for scholarships before you go. So there's many different ways to get help for going abroad. You can always do GoFundMe through your parents, through your family friends, if you can. For Christmas time, ask for money for abroad, stuff like that, where you can plan ahead for these things to help you achieve your goal of going abroad. So I found a way to make it work. So if I can find a way to make it work, I hope you can too, because I really did not have much time to plan before going abroad. And like I said, we just went on this huge cruise in August, and yeah. Talk a little bit about our living situation there. So we were in apartments, like I said, scattered throughout the city. And depending on how big your apartment was, you got a certain amount of roommates. So in my apartment specifically, 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And we had 4 girls in our apartment. And before you go abroad, you can request to sleep with someone. So Coral and I obviously have been friends here. We've been friends since high school, and we decided to go abroad together, and we knew we wanted to room together. Some people were kind of like, why would you go abroad with your friend? Others were like, that's awesome. But some were just asking, like, is it gonna be fun? Not in a bad way, just because, you know, when you go abroad, you're meeting new people, you're kind of going to learn more about yourself, learn more about new cultures, and some people think that that should be done alone. But I totally thought it was fine. Me and Coral had a blast. We, you know, grew together, we grew separately, we made memories together, we had our own things we did, and it was awesome because Coral and I have been friends for a while, and we had the option of having someone who was familiar with us when we're in a foreign country and don't know anyone. So that was really cool that we got to experience that together, and we loved it. We're roommates, so Coral and I were roommates, and then we had Courtney and Kelly in a different room. Courtney now is one of our best friends. We love her. We're so happy we met her abroad. I know she's gonna watch this, so shout out to Courtney. So it was our room, their room, and then we had a living room, we had a kitchen, and then we had Coral and I's bathroom, and then Kelly and Courtney's bathroom was in theirs. So when I say that we lived in Italian apartments, we were literally in Italian apartments. So our neighbors were Italian. We didn't talk to them. We didn't know anyone else near us that were Americans. I believe our program just rents out the apartment, and then the money that I said earlier that we paid the AIFS, they pay the landlord for it. So it's kind of like rented out. It's almost like an Airbnb. So we stayed in there for 3 months, and of course there were rules. The apartment was so amazing because we got to live like Italians. Something I enjoyed that we did in our apartment, we all decided let's do roommate dinners. So once a week we would alternate. So it would be my week, Coral's week, Courtney's week, Kelly's week, and we would cook a meal. We got to hang out together and have like a family dinner, and we got to talk. We got to help each other cook, and we all chose different things to cook. So that was really fun because we, all got to spend intimate time doing that together rather than always going out and spending money. We were doing that, so that was really cool. We also got to learn more about and living with other people. So that wasn't my first time, but other people it was. So that was also cool for them to grow that way because, you're learning what responsibilities you need to be doing. We took turns taking the trash out. We took turns cleaning, stuff like that. So that's just a little bit about where we lived. If I'm missing anything or you have any other questions about our apartment life and stuff like that, you can go ahead and comment below, and I would love to answer it. I'd love to talk about the internship. So the internship was 120 hours. Everyone did different things. So Courtney, one of our roommates, she was at a cooking institution. Like, how amazing is that? She's a dance major. The program decides what you're doing. You don't get to decide. You kind of fill out an application, share your interests, they know your major, and they suit you into a specific company or a business that would be suited for you. I know some people who did teaching, so they got to go teach English to Italian kids. Kelly got to do like animation, and so my internship as a comm major, I got to help with TripAdvisor. So here in America we use Yelp. Over there they use, I don't know about other countries, but in Italy they use TripAdvisor, which I'm sure many of you have seen. So what I got to do was a specific company overlooked it was a restaurant, the restaurant's TripAdvisor. So she would do all the online stuff for him to handle TripAdvisor reviews. I got to make vlogs about sustainability and thrifting and Italy's slow life and little things that they do around the city that is aiming for sustainability. So I got to make posts about that. And all of this was from home. So I was fortunate enough that my internship was from my computer, and I got to stay in my apartment and just do it from my laptop. And I learned so much through my internship. So I'll insert a picture here, which was really cool, was after the semester when we finished helping with the restaurant's reviews and TripAdvisor. Us and the restaurant owner, we got to have a really nice dinner at the end of the semester because we were helping him, and we got to try all his food and have some delicious Italian recipes and stuff like that from his restaurant, and it was so good. And I just love doing that internship because I feel like I learned stuff about Florence, the city, that a lot of my peers didn't because they were in different internships, and my reports were on specific events and just facts about the city that not many people would know. And so that was really cool because I could share it with my friends about it while we were abroad. After the internship, you get a letter of rec from your boss. Pretty much you do have to complete the 120 hours. Now we can talk a little bit about traveling while you're abroad. When you want to travel when you're there, you can travel any weekend you want. You can travel after class, go to a city in Italy. You can literally do anything you you want. You just did have to notify the program that you were going out of town so they knew where you were, in just in case of an emergency. You weren't not allowed to travel alone. A lot of us traveled alone. Why do we all go abroad? Because we want to travel. We had a Thanksgiving break in October for 1 week. And it was Coral, Courtney, and I. We had a week to travel, so we thought, you know, let's just knock as many countries as we can in 1 week. So we went to Paris, we went to London, we went to Ireland, and then we came home. So that was from like Friday to Sunday. We went to that many different places. Coral and I went to Paris and we were there for 2 days. So each country we spent around 2 to 3 days in. So we went from Paris, which I'll insert some clips here. 5 minutes.
Ouais. Allô? Ouais. J'ai fait la présentation. La ville? C'est Bolis Olivier?
And then after Paris, we went to Ireland. So we met Courtney in Ireland. I was so excited to go to Ireland because I am half Irish. There we went for like 2 to 3 days. We went to Cliffs of Moher, which I'll insert here. We stayed in a hostel. It's pretty much for travelers, most people who are traveling alone who just need a place to stay at night. So it's very cheap. We were told from when we got there that you needed to stay at hostels that had above a 4.0 rating or 4.5, just because you don't want to stay somewhere that's gross. So we always chose places that had really high reviews and that looked good in pictures. So most hostels have bunk beds. Coral and I stayed in one in Paris. I think the only downside of a hostel is you have to share a bathroom with people you don't know. Obviously we didn't care because we're traveling, we're students, we're trying to save money, so the bathrooms weren't the cleanest. People did come in and clean them, but they weren't. If you want to be by yourself in a hotel room, then you'll just have to spend more for that. I think at hostels you could stay in your own room, like 2 beds, but it just was more. But we wanted to travel cheap in the country for a couple nights and then get out. So we were in a hostel in Paris, which was really cool, and I can link everything down at on the bottom of the video so you guys know where we stayed. And then in Ireland, we rented a whole room because we had quite a few people going. Some of the girls actually didn't end up going. About 4 bunk beds and 1 bathroom for all of us girls. And these are people we knew from our program. We decided to all travel together. So for 2 nights in Dublin, we paid $36. So that is really good. Very clean. I loved that hostel. It was so cool. Most hostels have, some of them have like game rooms, have bars in them, so you can just go hang out and meet people, which is really cool. So that's where we stayed in Dublin. And then after we left Dublin, we went to London, and that was really cool because at that point we had been abroad for like a month. And, you know, we hadn't heard people speaking English in forever. And I know that sounds like really, I don't know the word, selfish, I guess. But, you know, you just sometimes feel a little homesick and you wish you could understand what people are saying and just talk to people. And that's why I wish I worked on my Italian a little bit more. When we got to London, it was all English speaking, and it reminded me of America, and so it just felt really cool to be there and hear English speaking and order without having a problem and getting frustrated and stuff like that. But that's stuff you learn abroad, and that's what makes you grow when you're abroad. Honestly, it's amazing learning new cultures. So but anyways, when we were in London, I had the best meat pie of my life, and mashed potatoes. And so Courtney, Coral, and I stayed in a hostel, and this is probably the funniest story of us going abroad. Then we're like, you know what, let's just do unisex. So unisex is when you stay with male and female, and previously we had only done female, and I'm not gonna lie, even only female, the bathrooms were gross. When we stayed with unisex, it wasn't terrible, but it was still just not the best. So I think when we stayed in London, there were about 4 bunk beds, and all of them had people we had no idea who they were. And I think that's why a lot of people choose hostels, is because you meet people that way, and meet one of your best friends in a hostel and be friends with them for the rest of your life. So that's something really cool that I like about hostels. But we stayed with, I think there was like 4 other girls, and there was 2 guys in there, and it's the funniest story. I love telling it, but me and Courtney were on this side of the room on bunk beds, and Coral was over here, and there was 2 guys near her, and I don't know where they were from. You know, everyone's different. I don't know if this is just how they are, but they were farting in their sleep, and they were like stinky, and I don't mean to talk bad, but it's just funny because Coral was by them and she had to smell that. And so I just remember one night she was texting and she's like, get me out of here, and I was like, come to my bed, and we're just dying laughing while they're all sleeping, like out loud in the dark, and it was just so funny. And so that's when we decided we'll never do unisex hostel again. But if you're traveling with guy friends, and or just in general, and you want to have like a unisex room, then that's like a perfect, you know, thing to do. And it's actually cheaper. So when you're with all females, they charge more. I'm not sure why, but they do. And so the unisex was cheaper. So for London, for 2 nights or 3 nights, for me, Courtney, and Coral, is $50 each. So I mean, that's the price of like a motel here in America. So I think that's just like a great, for 2 nights, perfect. So that's just something really funny that happened in London, was that Coral had to experience that. Obviously I heard it happening, but I didn't have to deal with the wrath of the smell. So that was too good. Coral can tell you one day about that experience. I'll invite her into the video for if I make a video about London, and she can share that. So after London, we came home, and that was the whole week. So to share a little bit about like the cost of traveling in Europe, it is incredible. Coral and I, from flying from Italy to Paris, it was 17 euro. 17, which is pretty much like $18.50 here, just depends on the currency rate at the time, but it's an $18 flight. Who can beat that? But the whole week we spent about $500 on all flights, all transportation, and all hotels and hostels. So I think that is incredible. I'm so lucky that I got to experience that and have the money to do that. And yeah, so that was a little bit about our Thanksgiving trip. You got to travel on the weekends too. So when we first got there, we heard everyone was going to Amalfi Coast, which is where Postiano is, Capri. That's where, you know, a lot of people see the famous pictures of those houses and apartments, the colorful ones, and then the beach is right there. So I'll insert some clips here of our trip there. That was really fun because that was like the 3rd or 4th weekend we got there, and that was with all the abroad girls. So that was really our moment of where we all kicked off like being friends and got to know each other, and that was really fun. We went there for, I think it was like 3 or 4 days. We took a bus from Florence all the way down. It was like 7 hours. We got there at like 2 a.m. and we did it through a program, which I will put at the bottom of here. We had so much fun there. That was like one of my favorite places in Italy, and I cannot wait to go back. Not to mention I went any more places with my boyfriend at the time, which is actually now my husband. So I was very, very fortunate enough just to give you a little background on the story. So when Coral and I went to the abroad office to decide to go abroad, Larson, my husband, he was at basic training and he was training to go to airborne school, and you're in the service, you don't get to choose where you're going because when you join, you know, they choose for you. He thought he was going to go to like North Carolina, Georgia, Alaska, somewhere like that. I had decided I'm going to Italy. I sent him a letter because he didn't have his phone, so we were sending letters back and forth from here to Georgia while he was in basic training, and I said, I'm going abroad with Coral, I'm so excited, I can't wait, blah, 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 blah. By the time my letter got there, he was gonna write a letter back to me, and I hadn't talked to him on the phone in 3 months, and he called me and he said, I'm going to Italy, like that's where they chose to station me. And it was just insane because I had already done the down payment, I had already done everything and decided I was going for sure, and he calls and tells me that he's going there. So that's something really special to me that I got to experience while I was abroad, was he was stationed there at the same time. So we got to travel many places together, we got to experience new things, we got to experience uncomfortable settings that we, you know, weren't used to before, because we've really been a long distance relationship the whole time. So being in Europe was like the most amount of time we got together. So that was really special for us because we got to experience those things together. He was up north in Vicenza, which is actually where I'm moving. I'm moving there in like literally a month or two to be with him. So he was up in Vicenza, I was down in Florence, and so I was constantly going up there to see him going on base. He was coming down to me. We were traveling places. We went to Egypt and Greece. I went to Vicenza a lot up there with him, and we went to Venice. We went horseback riding. We went to the Leaning Tower of Pisa and so many different places, and that was so amazing because, you know, it's like, I'm not trying to sound cheesy or anything, but you know, it's like we fell in love with each other in Europe, and that was just so special for us because now we can go back to these places and, you know, look back on these places that we visited when we were younger. So we went to Egypt for my 21st birthday. The reason why him and I chose Egypt, first of all, is because everyone was going different places. Coral was going on a solo trip in the mountains. Courtney was going to Greece, I believe, and other people were going different places, but we wanted to go somewhere that not many people were going. I had a girlfriend who was actually going to Israel because she had a friend that lived there, so she was going there. And then him and I decided, you know what, let's go see one of the 7 wonders of the world. So we went to see the pyramid. We were there from Thursday to Sunday, and obviously we both have never been there before. We were a little bit nervous because we know, you know, sometimes there's unfortunate events that happen in other countries, and we didn't want one of those things to happen when we were there, but we were completely fine. We got an Airbnb, which I'll insert videos here, was so amazing. Our view was the pyramids. When we woke up, when we went to sleep, our room had a jacuzzi inside of it. We had the view of the pyramids. Unfortunately, we'll save the story for a different time, but I got really sick when we were there because I ate something that I shouldn't have eaten, and yeah, that's as much as I'll tell you. So I was very sick, but other than that, we got to go on camels. We got to see the way that people were living there. We got to go to the bazaar. And it was just a really humbling trip because, you know, Lars and I were talking about it when we were on our way back, was we went around the time of Thanksgiving, and you know, being privileged people over there, it really humbled us and made us, you know, evaluate what we were thankful for. And so glad we did, because you know, some people don't have amazing lives like we do and don't have the things that we do, stuff like that. I'll make a different video about it to share my experience in Egypt, but that was something that I hold dear to my heart, and I loved that trip so much. So Larson and I also went to Greece, one of my favorite countries. The best, obviously the best feta cheese I've ever had in my life. And so that was really fun. Him and I got to experience that together, going to all the historical monuments and stuff like that. And so all those little trips that we got to do together were very special, because you know, I got to travel with my friends, but then I also got to travel with my significant other, and that was really special for me because not many people can experience that while they're abroad. So that's something that I really like sharing with you guys. Another thing is I wanted to talk about just meeting people. Like, some of the girls I met there are some of my best friends now, and you know, who would have thought that you're in another country and then all of a sudden you're home and you're hanging out with them. Like, I just think that that's really special. And it's really funny because where I live right now, I met a girl who lives literally in the neighborhood over, and I would have never known her if I didn't go on that abroad experience. Towards the end of the program, they don't really celebrate Thanksgiving in Italy, so it was really cool because all of us girls had a huge Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner at our house, and that was really fun because we were dancing, eating, cooking. Also have, where is it? Let me grab it. This notebook from my family. They wrote stuff in here before I went abroad, so when I was homesick, and read things that they wrote for me. So by the end of the trip, I decided to have the girls write things about me and our, you know, friendship or our experience together abroad, so I could look back at it and read what they wrote about me. So as you can see, I'll show you. Everyone wrote different things. I had some of the abroad instructors write in here. This is my Italian teacher. She wrote in Italian, and then she wrote in English at the bottom, and she's so cute. And then everyone just wrote different things in here, so that was really cute. One of the instructors drew Italy, which is really funny. So that's just fun because I get to look back at this and see what people have to say about our experience together in another country. So highly suggest doing something like this. You won't regret it. Going abroad was one of the best things I've ever done for myself. I really grew while I was abroad, independently and in different ways. You know, I'm sure you've seen in my videos, I cook a lot now. Honestly, it was all inspired from being in Italy, learning the culture, and I'm so grateful. And it's honestly really cool to now look back and think that I studied abroad there for 3 months, and now I'm moving there. So I'm moving there for a year to be with my husband. So we'll be there for around a year, and then we'll come back to the States. But being abroad really helped, you know, teach me more about new cultures and get a feel of getting out of my bubble here in America and California. And not many people can say they've been out of the country and have been to even at least 2 other countries. So I'm so grateful for the trip that I got to take, and I hope sharing these stories and a little bit about my experience inspires you to go abroad, because it was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I know I had met people when I was a barista. I was telling them that I was going abroad because I had left my job for 3 months, and they told me that's something I wish I did in college. So many people told me that, and now I never have to say that, and I'm very grateful for that. Have the chance to go abroad, you will not regret it. I promise you. Whether you go with your friends, whether you go alone, you will learn so much, and I highly suggest it. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and comment below. I'd love to answer them. I hope you enjoyed this video.